So it's time to discuss Wario Lorio. Break out this handy chart I'm providing because it's gonna get wild. So the Wario timeline begins with the Mario timeline, but we're not going to worry about the Mario timeline because the stupid Mario trancing around his stupid adventures thinks he's so great. We're not worried about it. However, I will discuss that the sports games happen around the same time as Super Mario 64 DS, in which Mario and Wario still have a pretty friendly relationship, and they're more keen to going out golfing on the weekends or going karting on Saturday with the kids. Although there are the antagonistic sports games like Power Tennis and Aces where Wario feels the need of a dastardly villain to try and defeat the stupid Mario, which happen more near the end, which leads into the beginning of the Wario timeline in earnest, with Mario and Wario tired of the goody-goodies, all of the goody-goodies who are Mario's friends, and that stupid clinger-on, that, ooh, I think I'm so great, I'm like your partner or something guy who, you know who I'm talking about, always, clogging up our style, hanging around, sick of them. Wario decides he's going to deal with this problem in a non-violent bucket-based solution in which he does something with a bucket and Mario happens as well. We're not worried about if that works or not. That's not important. The idea is Wario has his plane, the Bulldog, and from there, after that may or may not work, he decides he's going to go on a vacation. So he flies on his Bulldog to the Amazon, and Virtual Boy Wario Land happens, in which Wario discovers his love for acquiring treasures via lands, going on adventures, trouncing and pouncing, punching and fighting, putting on hats from time to time. He discovers it's great. So the game does end with you leaving the Amazon without the Bulldog, but that's not important because you get treasure in that game, and using that treasure, Wario buys another one, crashes it, gets stuck in a music box, kills God, and escapes. It's Wario Land 3. So Wario Land 3 has a branching branching timeline. The timeline branches here. So the first one, Wario gets lost in the woods and decides he's very bored in the woods and begins puzzle games and becomes a puzzle master beginning Wario's Woods. Now this timeline is this path of the timeline is non-canon because there's no way a pitiful toad could ever defeat the big man himself. So non-canon. But while we're in a non-canon timeline, if Wario was to be defeated by a toad, he'd probably go home and just chill watching TV for a long time, and then one day decide to invent the perfect VR device, and then decide to chill on TV instead. Wario Master of Disguise. It's not canon. I'm sorry, people who like that game, but it's not canon. So now we're going to jet back to the canon timeline, in which, coming off of Wario Land 3, Wario is, he's just left the music box, he has all his treasures, he still gets lost in the woods, he cannot escape the woods. But unlike the Wario Woods timeline, he finds a portal to Bomberman Land, in which he goes there, robs the Bomberman blind, and then he finds his way back to the city, baby, with money, in which Wario Land 4 happens, and Wario goes on a perfect adventure. Now, during his perfect adventure, there's a what if scenario. It's not non-canon, but it's a canon what if. It does, it may have happened, may have not happened. Who knows? With Densetsu no Starfy 3, in which, Wario finds a portal to Starfy World or whatever. I don't know. I didn't play it. It's a what if thing. So, Wario pilfers 12 treasures with incredible value, goes home to the city, goes on a date with 2 women at once. He takes them to a great night on the town on his hover car, and he lifts them with his very strong biceps. It's a great date. They all have a wonderful time. But here is where the timeline splits once more. So, our first one is the investment timeline. Wario invests the money that he got from the Golden Pyramid into a carnival, and in this carnival is where DDR Mario Mix happens. Well, it's not where the entire game happens, but Mario and or Luigi go to Wario's carnival, and they are defeated by Wario in a dance-off which begins DDR Wario Mix. So after defeating them, he gets his own DDR game. It's great. So with the money, from his investments into the carnival and from DDR Wario Mix, from Wario Land 4, the WarioWare series begins. So he takes his ROI and he begins a game studio in which he decides he is going to destroy capitalism from the inside by becoming a class traitor to the capitalists. He will pretend to be the capitalist so he can destroy it from the inside. And also he founds Diamond City. There's nothing to say he didn't do it, so I'm saying he did it. So then, he has a big important business, a big important important job to destroy capitalism before, I don't know, somebody burns the Amazon down. You know, who could say? But you know, he needs a break from time to time. So this is where Smash happens. Every once in a while, Wario will take a break to punch Mario in the face to relieve a little stress. But this is also where Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games happen. So Wario takes a break from punching Mario in the face to instead punch him in a race. It just makes sense, and these kind of just all loop around. Time is fake, who cares? So that's the end of that timeline. From there, we get to the Revenge Timeline, and this is my personal favorite timeline. So, using the money that he earned from the Golden Pyramid, Wario decides he's gonna show Mario what for. Also in this one, we're doing money or whatever. I'm sure you figured it out. But he decides he's gonna show Mario what for, and he hires Tatonga or whatever the hell to distract the stupid Mario. Super Mario Land happens. And then Super Mario Land 2, Wario frees Mario Land from the tyranny of the stupid Mario and ultimately murders Mario in his former castle. So from here, Wario Land happens, having turned Mario's castle into free public housing, I should say. I'm not sure if that's if public housing is always free, but free public housing to the denizens of the former Mario Land, now Wario Land. He decides hey, I want another castle so I can do more free public housing. So he goes and he does that, the Wario Land stuff. Here we meet Captain Syrup, and we also see the husk of Mario. Like I said, Wario murdered Mario in Super Mario Land 2. Here, we see the husk of the stupid Mario having been revived by a grieving a grieving Luigi, who got a little too into the occult stuff in Luigi's Mansion, if you know what I mean. Not that you can see his propensity for the occult, I'm saying. Not that Luigi's Mansion happened before this, because, you know, Mario was murdered and all, is what I'm saying. You know, the stupid Mario comes in, he steals the big Golden Peach statue that was Wario's rightfully. He earned it, he worked really hard for it, and that was really shitty of him to steal it. So from here, Wario Land 2 happens. Wario owns Captain Syrup so hard she decides to take a 10-year-long nap and eject herself from this timeline because she is so embarrassed. And from there, Wario, I almost said Wario Land 2 like that was his name. You know, from there, Wario, he has his castle filled with cursed pirate treasure. The black diamonds in their Wario World happens. And from here, there's a little mini split in the timeline depending on what kind of ending you get in Wario World. So if you get a good ending where Wario has a castle, it just loops and Wario Land 2 happens again, and it just keeps going back and forth forever. But if you get an ending where Wario doesn't have a castle, he's, you know, in a jungle, it would seem. That's the Amazon. It loops back to Virtual Boy Wario Land, baby, restarting and refreshing the timeline. And from in here, we can get into the final timeline, the Chill Timeline, in which Wario took all of his treasure and he just kind of chilled in his city, in his garage. And this is where Wario Land Shake It / the Shake Dimension / Shake / Shaking happens, where Wario just kind of chills. You know, Captain Syrup had ejected herself to this timeline. They pal around a bit. They do some wacky hijinks off camera before the events of this game, and then the events of this game happen. So the plot of Wario Land Shake It is pretty simple. You know, there's an interdimensional tyrant, the Shake King. It doesn't seem like he belongs. I think they refer to him as an invader, and I'm not sure, but he's the Shake King in the Shake Dimension, so he probably belongs in the Shake Dimension, and he's just invading on whatever Queen Merelda's turf is. And then, you know, Captain Syrup shows up, like, hey, Wario, come help. Well, she doesn't do that. She gets the Merfolk to, hey, Wario, come help, please. Queen Merelda and the Merfolks need your help. Hey, there's treasure, please help. And then he does. It's a pretty simple story, but as you can see, the Wario of Wario, very complex. There's a lot going on for it, and just because a single piece doesn't have a lot going on for it doesn't mean that the entire entity itself isn't a complicated beast that it is. So that's the timeline. A Mario Party can happen at any time because it's a chaotic event that has no bounds, no laws, so be careful. And a potential Wario Land 5, where could it go? Who knows? I don't know. Only time will tell. So that's the Wario timeline.